afternoon everyone and welcome. This is the LinkedIn for You and Your Business event as part of, oh hang on, I have to say that again, I didn't do this one. There's a few people who couldn't make it and want to have requested that I record these. Okay, so good afternoon everyone. Welcome to LinkedIn for You and Your Business as part of the Small Business Festival Victoria. My name is Ellson and this is one of 450 events across the state, and I think it's really amazing that the Victorian Government's given us this opportunity to share knowledge. How many of you have been to other events so far? Two? Great, excellent. Before you go, you are required, please, to fill out an evaluation form. I've only got 50 of them. Now, would you believe more than 140 people said they were coming today? And look who turned up. No, so you guys are people of action. I'm so impressed that you are willing to go outside of your comfort zone, give your time to me, so I'm going to make it as worthwhile as I possibly can. Because, you know, our time is just as valuable as our money. And, you know, I like to make sure that every event that I do is worthwhile. I've actually been teaching people since 1987. I teach at CAE. I'm starting to teach at RMIT with their short courses program on a LinkedIn masterclass, which I'll tell you about a little bit later. And tonight I'm off to General Assembly talking about LinkedIn for startups and entrepreneurs. So lots of different things that I do. I also provide consulting services to both individuals and organisations, corporate level, and you know, lots of different industries. And I'm not paid by LinkedIn, so I'm not selling you anything. Well, maybe my books, but you know, I'm not selling you anything from LinkedIn today. I'll try and teach you how to make the most of it. My first website, Newcomers Network, went online in 2001. I run Camberwell Network, so we meet on the third Wednesday of the month in Camberwell, free of charge. You can become a network with us. And my publishing business I started this year. So the first book I finished writing in February was 120 Ways to Achieve Your Purpose. So I'm one of the first 80,000 people in the world on LinkedIn. I joined on the 21st of December 2003. My number is 77832. And the second book is, and there's 8 years of consulting I've been doing on LinkedIn, so that's all in the first book. The second book is about attracting the right career or business. If you want opportunities to come to you, you can't sit on a rock and go, and it comes to you. You actually have to take action. You guys have taken action. That's about attracting it for your career or business. And the third one is about marketing your business hyper-locally. So that's more about understanding how you can do business within a local context, a geographic region, as well as within a vertical in a particular industry or at a particular moment in time. So I'm combining a lot of contemporary ideas and traditional ideas in that particular book. But today, what are we going to cover? Quite a lot. It's going to be fast and, yeah, what is LinkedIn, what you need to do before you start, the bigger picture, databases, algorithms, signals, good behaviour, bad behaviour. A lot of people said to me, well, Sue, what is bad behaviour? You know? So, okay. Yep, I'm going to give you all access to the slides, audio recording and video recording. So if you registered online, you'll definitely get all this. If you do not register online, just give me your details and I'll make sure that you get them. Personal branding, business branding, measuring your return on investment. If you're going to make the time to do stuff on LinkedIn, you want to be able to check that it's working for you. Any questions, some upcoming events that I'm running, and also how to say thank you. And I ran a session this morning, this exact presentation. Every session I do is different, and I ran a couple of events last year. Every time I run it, I try and do something different, because if you end up listening to my videos, I don't want you listening to the same speech every time. And I also try and target it for your audience. So when I talk about LinkedIn for entrepreneurs tonight, that's going to be slightly different to LinkedIn for you and your business. So first of all, what is LinkedIn? Well, basically it started out as a network for professionals. And so we're up to, you know, moving on from that. It's acquired a number of other enterprises. So we've acquired Pulse, which is a newsfeed service. We've acquired lynda.com, which is a training service. More recently, Connectify, which is a platform that enables you to have a browser plugin. And if I Google, you know, Sue Ellson, it brings up all my profiles and all my other social media and puts them all in one spot. So as a recruiter, you know, that's really handy. And of course, you may have heard more recently that Microsoft acquired LinkedIn. So, you know, the incarnation of how LinkedIn is going to appear in the future could be quite different. And they're basically saying with that the world's biggest, operating cloud system is trying to merge with the world's biggest database. So let's see what happens. But it's one of the biggest acquisitions in corporate history. So at the moment, they're more of a publishing platform. As Richard indicated, there's a lot of content on there. Not all of it's good. And their future incarnation will be a B2B platform, business to business, so that they want you to engage more, spend more time there, and actually do business through the platform. There's over 450 million members worldwide, 2 new members per second joining up, heaps of spammers joining up and being deleted. So, if you start annoying people, LinkedIn will delete your profile. And there's over 8 million members in Australia, which is about half the amount of Facebook users, but still a significant proportion. Over 50% and more than $100,000 a year. So if that's the type of audience you want to reach, you're definitely in the right place. The fastest growing demographic is students. So they're the biggest group that's growing up. And I think that there's a real demand for blue collar and trades to be on LinkedIn as well. I think, if you're one of those industries and you're the first on LinkedIn, you've got a much better chance than somebody who waits for another 5 years. So, before you start with LinkedIn, and before I work with any individual clients, this is what I do. Obviously, I get them to sign into LinkedIn. I'm assuming they've got a profile. Is there anybody here who hasn't got a profile yet? Yep, a couple of people. Okay. So, when you do exercises, you might have to do it with somebody who does have a LinkedIn profile, or just imagine what it is like, just use a bit of creative thought. And I encourage you to check out how many views you've had in the last 90 days so we can see how it improves, how to save your profile to PDF, and also how to export your connections. So would you like to see how to do those 3 things? Yes, please. Very good. All right. Who needs manners? Didn't they go out of the way of the phone? So, first of all, not Facebook. Home. On my home page, it says right in the middle of the screen, 18 people viewed my profile in the past day. It's on American time, so we won't, it's more than that because I did an announcement last night. And I've had 954 views in the last 90 days. Can anybody beat that? Right. I'm not expecting you to beat that because I'm a networker, I've been on the platform a long time and I use it for networking. So I'm going to attract a lot of people to visit my profile, but I also have written it in such a way that the people I don't want to speak to don't bother calling me. So, I've got a good number of views, but I'm getting quality. Now, are any of these people in the room right now? Yes! Okay, this is my absolute favourite activity of all time to do. And that's to, see who's been looking at me. And I call it reverse stalking. And it's so interesting, that guy I went out with, so it's really interesting that he's, looked at it. And obviously, the people who are here today are second and third level connections. They're not already connected to me, but they're premium members, so that's interesting. And there's a chance that if you start scanning people's profiles and looking at them, there's a 30% chance they'll then look at you. So it's actually a really good cold calling technique. In fact, there's one guy, he was stalking his business for so long that they ended up bringing him up and saying, would you like a job here? He said, yes, please. Because he'd been looking at this person's profile so frequently, he was obviously trying to generate some interest. And if you have the premium membership, you would see the last 90 days of people who looked at your profile. Okay? So, next thing is, from your profile, and you can do this on anybody's profile, is you can click this little drop-down box here and choose Save to PDF. And that way you can save a copy of your LinkedIn profile to PDF, so you've got a soft copy of it. Because you'll never remember all the things that you typed in to your LinkedIn profile. It doesn't keep a copy of your posts, but it does keep a copy of all of your content. So if somebody comes to see me and we make changes, and then they go home and they say, oh no, I don't want to write what Sue said, I want to go back to what I had, they can copy and paste from their previous version. So I always suggest you save to PDF before you work with someone, and then again after you work with someone. And when I do it, I've chosen my browser to tell me where to save files. I always save it with today's date back to front. That way I know that this is what my LinkedIn profile looked like on this day. I also have a habit, because I create websites, of putting dashes between all of my words so that if I do a search, I can easily find it. And then I obviously all the dashes in, and then I put LinkedIn. so that I can always find this file, even if I accidentally file it in the wrong spot. I know that that's the format I'm going to be using for saving my file. I did it earlier, so I won't bother doing it now. So the third thing that I encourage you to do is export your connections. So from My Network, you go to Connections, and there's a little cog over there on the right-hand side. So you can see I've just ticked over 9,001 connections today. And if I want the details of those people, I click on the cog, and then I choose Export LinkedIn Connections. Now, even though, I may or may not be using Microsoft Outlook, I'll always choose CSV file, which means that this file can be opened in Excel, and I can see first name, last name, email address, current job title, and current company for all of my connections. It's not going to give me their LinkedIn URL or, all their past history or anything like that. If I had access to that, I could, in theory, set up a rival network to LinkedIn. So obviously they're not going to let us have access to that. But that's good information that you can export and work with and, decide how you're going to do it. If you do it on a regular basis, you'll also be able to see, on the 30th of August I had 600 connections, and, on the 30th of September I had 693, and so on and so forth. So it's also a way to remember how many connections you've actually got. I also have followers. So because I've written blog post articles, if I go to my list of articles that I've written, I can see that I've got 9,078 followers. So you can have up to 35,000 connections, and you can have as many followers as you like. So I've only got slightly more, because most of the people, who look at my profile and ask me to connect, as a general rule, because it fits with my purpose, I say yes, we can be connected, and as soon as they're naughty, I delete them. Quite simple. Don't worry about it. It's not the end of the world. That comes tomorrow. All right, just relax, people. Okay, so back to the slides. I want to help you actually meet a few people today, because there's nothing worse than when you come to these events and you just get, bombarded by the presenter and you don't get a chance to, meet anybody. So these events, I think the best networking is still done face-to-face. So you are going to meet at least 3 people today, so be ready. So in terms of LinkedIn, you need to have a purpose. If you don't know what you're doing or why you're doing it, you're just going to be wasting your time with LinkedIn. You need to be as clear about that as possible, and it should be based on your values. You then need to say, right, if I want people to find me on either Google or LinkedIn, I have to get the computer to find me. So we're going to talk about making sure that the computer can find you, and then when the person gets there to look at it, what is their user experience? Are they going to engage with you? Are they going to actually call you, do business with you, and so on? And once you've got your profile set up effectively, you can then determine what strategy and tactics am I going to use on an ongoing basis to make sure that this is still working for me and I keep generating the business that I'm looking for. And there's lots of different things you can choose. One of the strategies and tactics I'm starting to avoid is groups. They've changed the algorithms and how they work. They're just not as effective as they used to be. So, your strategy and tactics might change over time. You might say, look, I don't have time for that. I'm just going to, like a couple of articles and that'll do. So you determine. But either way, I wouldn't be suggesting that you would want to be spending more than about 20 minutes a week on it. If you're unless it's your business development role, then you're obviously going to spend more. But as a general rule, you wouldn't want to be spending, hours and hours and hours on LinkedIn. So on your chairs, I've given you a little flyer. I was at the Careers Expo on the weekend. So there's on one side it's blank. And what I would like you to do is I would like you to write down 12 words that describe what you do. And I'm going to give you a clue, because those words have to be what I would be typing into LinkedIn to find you. So you've got to imagine I'm your ideal client and I would like to do business with you, and the 12 words that I would use to find you, I want you to write down on that sheet of paper. If you can't come up with 12, 6 is fine, but we'll aim for 12. And then what I want you to do is I want you to stand up, smile, go to someone else, don't say anything, and just give them your list. And then they're going to read it. And when they read it, now please don't take offence at anything they say. They didn't mean to be nasty to you. Okay? They're going to interpret what those words mean to them. So if they typed it in, let's assume, because there was one person that she did ethical tourism and something. So I guessed, based on those words, what I would have been looking for, based on those words. Okay, so the other person is going to give you feedback on the words that you've created. Because what we're trying to do is and I'll give you the reason why this is so important. There was a business in Richmond offering hairdressing services, and all over their website, hairstylist, hairstyles, hair colours, nowhere was the word hairdresser. So if I was standing in Richmond looking for a Richmond hairdresser, out the front of the store, they would not appear in search results, because they didn't have the word hairdresser on their website. Likewise, if you go into LinkedIn, I was speaking at a conference in Adelaide 2 years ago, and the room was full of half the people I was already connected to, and they all help you with your career. And I thought, okay, if I wasn't in this industry, what would I type into LinkedIn to say, this is what I'm looking for? And I came up with the idea, I'd be looking for a career counsellor, right? So I typed in career counsellor, and all these people are already connected to me, and think that one of them would show up, and not one of them did. Because they called themselves career development practitioners, which is what the industry calls them. Okay, so they didn't come up in my search results. So I want you to channel and think about your target audience, who you want to look at you, and what words they'd be typing in to find you. Write them down, then walk up to somebody else, smile, give them the list, and see if they interpret it the same way. Ready? Anybody else ready? Yes, come on down. I don't mind if it gets noisy. It's not speed dating, by the way.
No. I'm going to cross one out.
And it's better if you do it with somebody you haven't met before.
I think so. There's some capability we want to be putting the investment forward and creating a good market impression.
Hopefully the items
Okay.
Anybody like to share what happened in that exchange that they were a little bit surprised about, that they weren't expecting? Anybody like to share? Anybody want to share something that they weren't expecting? Anybody willing to share something that they got out of that exercise? Yes?
I was actually quite surprised at what I'd left out.
Really?
Yes.
Isn't that
The
interesting?
lady behind me sort of picked up a couple of things and I suddenly realised, oh dear, you know, I've misrepresented myself.
Yeah, very interesting. Thank you. And isn't it, it's so much easier to make an assessment of somebody when you meet them face to face than it is by 12 words on a piece of paper. Yeah. Anything else somebody would like to share?
I'm a little bit curious about how 2 words go. Maybe some of us found that we need 2 words. So I'm a consultant and an advisor, so obviously I need an industry match for those.
Yes.
Is that counted for 12 words? Like, is there 2 words in the...
Well, you need to think about what are the people who are looking for you going to call you. Are they going to call you a consultant, or are they going to call you an advisor, or a specialist, or a guru, or an expert?
Well, that's right.
Yeah, you don't know, do you? So you have to channel in your mind and say, what is the common denominator of what this person is looking for? So what do you consult in?
I am an art dealer.
An art dealer. Well, right. So if I was looking for an art dealer, I'd probably look art dealer.
Okay.
But what else would I need to know if you're an art dealer? Like, what other words would I be typing in? So although you're a consultant, you could probably put that somewhere else in your profile, because the main words in that 120 characters in your headline need to be what I would be searching for. So would it be art auctions, art management, you know, art.
So the art needs to be in there. I guess I was just saying, is that one of... does that appear over and over again?
No, well, what you definitely do not do is put art 16 times, you know, in the profile, because it's a short word. That's going to look really stupid. So you need to think about the word that most people are going to be looking for you under, and put that at the beginning of the 120 characters of your headline, and then the rest after that. Okay, so you might say art dealer, and then you might specialise in oils, watercolours, you know, whatever it is, or sculptures, or, you know, so on and so forth. Yeah. Anybody else like to share something from that exercise? No? That's all right. No need to. But I hope you got something out of it, because the words can be quite difficult to work out, and my words have actually changed multiple times. So what you've got to remember with LinkedIn is it's just basically a dumb, stupid database. And if it's a dumb, stupid database, unless you put the words in it that you want to be found for, you are not going to be found. Okay? So what words do you put in? You have got to think about your keywords. And then you've got to think about the frequency of those keywords in the database. You've got to think about completing all the fields, because a database record that has more fields completed is much more likely to come up in search results. You also have to think about the priority fields. So the number 1 priority location for your keywords is in your headline, directly under your name. The second priority location is in your current job title. So you might be manager or owner or whatever, but unless you put keywords after that, you're not going to get value out of that spot on your profile. The third spot is your previous job and the title for that. The fourth one is your education. So if you've done some study, even if it's a week-long course or something like that, then you're going to find that that's also going to be really helpful for coming up in search results. The next one is your summary, which is directly underneath your photo and the brief bit at the top. And the final one is in the actual experience section. So they're the priority locations for your keywords. You also need to think about related fields. So are you going to put your skills in? Are you going to be following certain companies? All these sorts of things are affecting your results in the database and the categories that you come up under. So the next exercise that we're going to do is we're going to find another person in the room, so you get to meet person number 2, and this time we're going to think about what have you changed on your LinkedIn profile recently. Now, there was a guy this morning, he hadn't changed anything for 2 years, he couldn't remember what he'd changed, and then there was somebody else who just got a new job and they'd changed their LinkedIn profile. So for people who don't have a profile, you can just imagine what you would put on your LinkedIn profile perhaps as the first priority. I would suggest the first thing you do, apart from your name, is put on your photograph. Because, 20% of the time that people spend looking at your LinkedIn profile, they spend looking at a photo. Even longer if it's a bad photo. So, sign up for a good photo. All right? So, find another person in the room. And this time, say, what have you changed recently on your LinkedIn profile? notifications on your new job? No. Right, so you must have had notify your network turned off. So last night I added my new job at RMIT onto my LinkedIn profile, and I left notify your network on, and so it messaged, nearly 9,000 people that I've now got a new job at RMIT. So today I'm inundated with all these messages congratulating me on this job. It's only a gig here and a gig there, but it's a great way to promote me and what I do. Okay? Anybody else like to share something? Yes?
I was just started a new job and part of the company that I joined as a social media branding.
Fantastic.
So I changed the top background banner
Yes.
and just developed very consistent.
Wonderful. So did they have a social media policy that they introduced to you when you employed? And did they tell you what's going to happen when you leave the company as well?
Yes.
Great. So exciting to hear. Because if you're running your own business and you've got staff, you need to inform them as to how you would like them to update their LinkedIn profile. It's their choice as to whether they do it or not. But if you can encourage them to take on what you've done, and it's really going to help the business brand. I'd like to show you a little recommendation I received, because as I mentioned, I run LinkedIn for startups and entrepreneurs at General Assembly. And I got this amazing email very late at night, and I was so surprised. I said, would you like to write that on my LinkedIn profile for me? And he did. He wrote it as a recommendation. So this is, and this is a really smart guy who's in the digital world. So let's, be fair. He understood what I was talking about when I did the presentation. So here is what he has put publicly on my recommendations. Greg Saxton is his name, giving him a bit of extra PR today. I attended Sue's class on LinkedIn for Startups at General Assembly about 6 weeks ago. I immediately put her advice into action, and within that time, my network has grown by 670%, and my profile views per 90 days have gone up by 1,400%. I'm now being canvassed for about 3 to 5 jobs per day. I've caught up with at least 20 new people I've met through LinkedIn just for a coffee and to share ideas. I've also chatted to many like-minded individuals through LinkedIn, both here and across the globe. It's incredible. I've become a networking machine, and all thanks to Sue. I just wanted to pass that feedback on, as Sue has had a profound impact on my career. Greg. Now, the challenge that Greg now has is he's got to change his profile again, because he doesn't need to have 3 to 5 job offers per day. I mean, he's got a job now, so and I presume he's happy with it. So he needs to say, what does he want people to do when they find his profile now? So that's a nice problem to have, of course, but this is what can happen if you do update your profile effectively. So what I want to do now is just go through the concept of algorithms. So have you started hearing the word algorithms a lot more often now? And basically the word algorithms is just a fancy name for a mathematical equation developed by nerds. Because they're trying to work out how they can access all that data and make use of the data and produce quality results for what you're trying to do. So your information has to be current. It has to be recent as well, so it has to be relevant to the current marketplace. So if you were still talking about customer service, when everybody is now talking about CX, customer experience, you're out of date, so you need to be using recent terminology. It needs to be relevant. So you might be doing CX, you might be doing UX, user experience at the same time. So, what other words would you have? And the algorithms are going to be checking this sort of data. Is your profile consistently done? Have you filled in all the jobs that you've done in the past? Or is there a 5-year gap when you were having kids? If you're still doing voluntary work, why didn't you put that in? If there's a big gap in your resume, I'm going to assume you're on drugs, you were in jail, you were in court, some other terrible things been happening. So please, fill in the dates so that I have a sense that, you're a reliable person.
How far do you need to go back?
I'm right back to my first job, which is 6 days out of school, Westpac, in 1982. If somebody wants to discriminate me based on my age, being 51, so you don't have to work it out, I don't care. I don't want to work for them. I want to be assessed on my value, not on my age. So if you're interested in this topic and you want to be perceived the right way, there's an article I've written on my SueEllson.com website called Looking for Work Over the Age of 50, and I talk about whether you want to be perceived as a guru or a dinosaur. Now, a dinosaur is someone who says, I've got 35 years of experience. Now, I remember when I was in my 20s, anybody over 30 was ancient, right? So if an over 30, if you tell me you've got 35 years of experience, I think you're ready for the grave, right? I can't imagine what you would be like. But if you tell me you've done this, and you've achieved that result, I'm thinking, he's a guru. I'll consider him for the job. So it's about putting the information in a way that people can understand your value. And if they don't want to work with you because you're age, you don't want to work with them. So eliminate them from the get-go. Don't even worry about it. I had a guy come up to me at the Career Expo on the weekend and he said, I'm from the LGBTI community and I don't know whether I should put that on my LinkedIn profile or not. And I said, well, is that the strong part of your identity? And he said, well, yes. And I said, well, put it on there. But then I had another guy who came up to me and he said, I've got cerebral palsy. Should I put that on there? And I said, does it affect your ability to do the job? And he said, well, the type of job I'm looking for, no, it doesn't. I said, well, don't put it on. I said, but when you get to the interview, you can disclose it, because if they're concerned for any reason something happens, you can disclose it then, but it's not going to, in theory, affect his ability to do the job. So don't declare it until that point.
There is a whole lot of stuff. I mean, it's something I just read recently about a woman should take her ring off when going for an interview. There's two prejudices. There's a female prejudice and there's a male prejudice.
Okay. Well, I don't recommend...
It's all in, and there's unconscious prejudice.
And, yeah, look, that's why I say the three main ways to get work: networking, referrals and voluntary work. It's not applying for a job offset. Less than 10% of jobs are going to be advertised and you're going to be up against the rat race and you're going to be up against all those prejudices. The best employees are the ones who were recommended by somebody who already works in the organisation. They're the best recruits, as a general rule. It's been proven over time because, they know they're going to be working with the person. They're going to make sure it's a good person to get in. So if you're looking for new staff, ask the people you already work with, and go that way, and you'll get a much better fit rather than the process. I mean, I've been in recruitment and I hear people interview 10 candidates. Why should they waste 10 people's time? That's ridiculous. They should have phone screened them and there should be no more than 3 interviews. Anyway, that's another argument. Anyway, we're here for LinkedIn for you and your business. So be consistent, make sure things relate and make sense. Be active because you're sending out signals, which I'm going to talk about in a minute, and your performance. So the algorithms are measuring what you're doing. If somebody else is doing all of this and you're doing this, you're not going to come up because the algorithm's going to say you're not in the game. So, you need to be thinking about how what you do is being monitored, measured, and determining what's going to happen next. So, the last exercise you get to do, you do have to keep up the pace. Please don't make me yell too much because my throat will just disappear. I want you to describe one good thing that's happened as a result of your profile being on LinkedIn and why you think that happened. Okay? And if you can't think of something, explain what you would like to happen. So find someone else in the room. And only 2 minutes, so please make it quick.
Okay,
Yeah.
right,
But I do recommend the premium account after you've completely updated your profile and you've got the maximum benefit out of it
yeah,
and you want to go to the next level, but not before. Because
okay,
again, what's the point of paying for premium if you're a hairdresser and you don't use the word hairdresser? I mean,
yeah.
you're just not going to come up with search results, okay? So, but the premium product can be very valuable. So it will give you more searches, it will make you appear higher in search results, it gives you better analytics so that you can see the last 90 days of people that looked at you, so you can track, you know, what's happening, you know, Joe Blogs has popped up, you know, 6 times, etc. It will give you a bit of prestige. Well, if she can afford premium, she's obviously not, you know, on the streets. So, you know, that's a good thing. And what else? You get more searches. Yeah, so there's quite a few benefits. But I do not recommend that you sign up for something like Sales Navigator unless you are really committed to lots of things, because the reality is Sales Navigator is going to help you put sponsored ads in the newsfeed. How many of you here regularly scroll through your newsfeed reading all that lovely content? Nobody. Right? So what on earth is the point of paying for Sales Navigator and ads to target people who never see it? So, you know, I don't recommend that at this point. I mean, there might come a time when it does. Yeah?
So I use Sales Navigator
Yes.
because that's my role.
Yes?
I use it to connect with other people.
Right, so use it as a connection
not
tool.
necessarily to bombard them. And the great thing about the Sales Navigator is, you know, you can just start a conversation. Oh, you spent
Yes,
7 years in Chicago, so do I, right? And then
Right.
people connect.
Okay, so in your role, because you're doing business development, provided you use it ethically and you don't annoy people, yes, you know, but again, you have to have a good profile to begin with. You know, you wouldn't go to any of these premium products unless you're making maximum use of the freemium product first.
My only tip is probably to post photographs.
Yes.
It really enhances credibility.
It does.
Because, you know, nobody likes being sold to.
No.
At the end of the day, you know, when they see basically you're credible, they connect. And my connection rate, I would say about 80%.
Wonderful. Oh, wow. Well, there's a good story. Yes.
I just wanted to ask about recommendations.
Yes.
When you do it on your more standard profile,
Hmm.
it doesn't come up as an option. I have a friend who's that's in it on LinkedIn.
Hmm.
Said, how do you get recommendations to come up? And she sent me a link.
Hmm.
I couldn't actually find it on the main profile page.
All right, so if you just go to linkedin.com/RECS, that's where it's featured, but it's also from that drop-down box where we did save. Sorry, the internet's come off. You know where we chose save to PDF? There's also a link there to the recommendations, you know, so that you can go to that same screen.
So
Via that.
RECS, you said.
RECS, yeah, short for recommendations.
Thank you.
Yep. Now recommendations I will talk about later as well, so yeah, just keep that in mind. Alrighty, well thank you. So basically what's happening nowadays is we don't classify as a demographic. You know, I'm a 51-year-old female, professionally qualified, living in Canterbury. Who cares? What the databases and the algorithms are checking is my behaviour. What do I actually do? So they actually think my business is similar to IBM. How lucky am I? You know, because I specialise in LinkedIn, I obviously do a lot of technology stuff, so they're thinking I'm like IBM. So all of the things that are happening are the algorithms, the database, everything is tracking our behaviour and then trying to give us the user experience that we want. So what do you visit whilst you're logged in to LinkedIn? Whose profiles are you looking at? What do you like? What do you comment? And extra brownie points if you share something. But before you like something or comment or even share it, you must have a look at it in its entirety. I mean, I write fabulous content, it's all perfect, I know. But I still recommend that before you send it to somebody else, you check it out. You know, because there might be something in there that you're dead against, and you shouldn't share that information. Who do you connect to? What sort of content do you produce? You know, so you're in Sales Navigator, but are you doing posts on your personal profile, or are you just putting it on a company profile? You know, what sort of content are you generating? Are you an administrator for a company profile? Are you an administrator for multiple company profiles? Who do you follow? So all of these things are tracking your behaviour and will determine what sort of results you're going to get out of LinkedIn.
So I have a question.
Yeah.
In terms of the content you're generating,
Yeah. Okay, well, there is a prediction that by the year 2017 there's going to be up to 80% of content that's produced is going to be video, and worse still, it's going to be live video. So, you know, most of us in the room are going to hate the concept of only doing a live video all the time. But that's the reality, a lot more is going that way. So what I do is I have a style guide for all of my content. So I always use heading 1 in my posts, I use 2 or more heading 2s, I put links within LinkedIn, I put links, external links, I put, you know, dot points, I try and put a quote in, I do all the markup language that I can possibly think of, I put a nice image with it, I try and add another image, I try and put a video in if it's relevant, I put calls to action, you know, and all of that. So that's going to make it perform better. So you need to come up with your own style guide and then try and stick to that. But yeah, somebody was mentioning earlier today too about, you know, is video going to take over LinkedIn? Well, you know, it's taken over Facebook, so, you know, I probably predict that at some point it will. But, you know, it's not that interactive at the moment. Yeah. And I think people's attention span lasts about 10 seconds. So, you know, you probably don't put up something that's 15 minutes. You know, I can guarantee you probably nobody's going to look at that. So, yeah, unless you've got an amazing reputation and it was really outstanding content. Okay. So, good behaviour. First thing is you must complete your LinkedIn profile in full. So, for the people who are new here, please just fill in all the boxes. There's plenty of them. Choose an ethical strategy that you would like to use with your LinkedIn profile and actually complete it. And definitely you need to be responsive to anybody who comments on your updates, or who comments on your posts, or who shares your posts, you know, because they're monitoring how long you take to respond. Have you noticed on Facebook it says this is a responsive business, usually responds within, you know, 1 hour or 24 hours or something like that. So these algorithms are checking all this kind of behaviour.
What does number 2 mean?
Number 2, an ethical strategy. Well, if you are unethical, it will bite you on the bum. You know, it doesn't work. If you start spamming people, you'll get a reputation, they'll report you, your profile can be deleted. So, and also, if you do those bad things, which I'll talk about in a minute, you're ruining the platform for everybody. So you might get a small short-term gain, but LinkedIn does delete people's profiles, you know, without a shadow of a doubt, you know. And there's one LinkedIn trainer that I've listened to a few times. He says, "Oh, I've been removed from LinkedIn 3 times." Are you proud of it? You know, like, I just think that's a crazy strategy. If you try and re-add your connections, you can only add 10 people at a time and 100 people per day. So if I was doing re-adding my 9,000 people, you imagine how long it's going to take me to rebuild my network, you know, within the requirements. So please, just be ethical. Don't do the wrong thing. It doesn't help any of us if you do the wrong stuff. And the strategy is related to your purpose. So if you're wanting to attract business or not attract business or build your reputation, think about that. What things can you do that will achieve that purpose? That's the whole goal of it. Okay, and you also can if you're not happy to write content, you know, you don't like contributing or producing videos or whatever it is, then you can curate other people's content. So, you know, if you find a few people and they always put out great content, like Bernard Salt, I don't know, he writes something that seems all the time, you know, but his content's usually really amazing, you know, and really informative. So if you were sharing, you know, good quality content, that can also help you. So you don't have to do all of it yourself, you can curate someone else's content. You also need to add value. So if you acknowledge people with endorsements or you recommend them, and even if somebody wins an award, they might announce it on LinkedIn, you know, won the such and such of the year award. Well, why wouldn't you? Even if they're a competitor, say, congratulations. They're going to remember you. Everybody who looks at their profile is going to see your name, so there's a mercenary benefit to it, I suppose. But it looks good, you know. Why do we in Australia cut down people who've achieved something? Well done. If they want the award, you know, they've done well. Provided it wasn't rigged, of course. Okay, and build relationships. So it's really important to follow up with people because up to 85% of business is still done by referral. So if you've got good quality clients and people who regularly refer to you, then try and build that relationship, keep in touch with them. And your VIPs, I would suggest if you want to maintain that relationship with them, you would reach out to them at least 3 times per year. Now that doesn't mean you have to ring them up and say, hi, how's it going, and spend half an hour on the phone with them, or invite them out for dinner at some exotic restaurant. It just means you need to keep them in the loop and at least maintain that relationship. Bad behaviour, spam sales messages, okay? No, everybody can read through them. I connected with a LinkedIn person in Brisbane recently, and then I immediately got this thing, I've donated to some special charity, and then he started endorsing me for all my skills. He'd never met me. Why was he endorsing me? So obviously he had some personal assistant that he pays. On day 1, endorse them for 3 skills. On day 2, endorse them for 3 skills. On day 5, endorse. I thought, it just looks so fake, you know, and most of us can see through it. So don't go into these sort of automated, you know, processes. They just look completely inauthentic. And scripts, people can read through scripts, you know, and I read the script and I say, don't you know I do LinkedIn, you know, like, why would you be offering me a free LinkedIn profile review? I don't want a free profile review, you know, so it's ridiculous. So, you know, don't fall into those traps of that kind of stuff. Don't endorse people falsely, and definitely do not recommend people that were terrible. So, if you've got, say your senior manager says, will you write me a recommendation? And you think they're an absolute idiot, and they're always confrontational, but they always get everything done on time, right? So in the recommendation, say you work with such and such here, and is great at achieving results on time. You don't say anything about anything else, because a recommendation can actually be used in court. So you need to think very carefully about what you write. Lying of any sort, I disagree with, but massaging the message is fine. So one of my clients has been in jail in Sydney, and white-collar crime, and he said, oh, it's great, you know, I learned how to cook, I learned about governance, it was fantastic. I've come out a better man on the other side. So that's fine. So he showcased that story in his LinkedIn profile. Then there's another person, sort of not quite in the same category, and he thought, well, I don't want people to know I've been in jail, so instead of listing the jail, he's listed the holding company, you know, that runs the jail, and then he said he was chefing, you know. So if somebody asks at the interview, he obviously has to disclose he's got a criminal record, but to get the opportunity, he still has the opportunity to get it. And that's what I call massaging the message. It's not lying, but it's making it work to his or her advantage. Unrealistic requests. So I like telling this story. There's this lovely Indian mother who has been messaging me, trying to get me to help her son get a job. And I said, I'm sorry, I don't deal with mothers, I deal with people. You know, oh no, but you can come to India, and we give you food, and you have a holiday here, and we pay you. And I said, no, I don't work with mothers, I work with the client. But can you please check his website? And I said, no, please don't contact me again. You know, like, you have to be firm sometimes. And you also, please, you know, if you're going to make an unrealistic demand on me, I'm just going to say no. And as Richard's got to the point, you know, you're just going to delete them. They don't even have a photo, you've gone. You know, so think about what's realistic and what's not. And any form of negativity, even if you're right. So say somebody said something terrible about you. I will always apologise. I'm sorry for any confusion, you know, definitely not my intention. But I will never say, well, you didn't turn up on time and you arrived, you know, you didn't contribute. And I'm not going to say that, even if I was right. I'll always be solution focused.
Sorry, question. With the endorsements, if people are endorsing you for things that you've never done,
Yes,
just remove that.
you can.
Yeah, so
You
it's
can.
like it doesn't come up anyway, just remove it.
Yeah, and you can also sort them in the order that's most important for you. So the top 10,
Yeah.
you know, but you can have up to 50. If you want to specialise in an area, I say do the top 20.
How do you do that? How do you?
You just go into it, and when you're on profile, the pen will come up, and you just click and drag. Yeah, very easily done. Okay, so in terms of personal branding, because as I said, this workshop is linked in for you and your business. These are some things you can do. So you need to be authentic and not always selling, and you also need to be very considerate in your approach to things, not criticising. You can be helpful and share great stuff, and you can also be accountable. So one of my clients, he decided, yeah, I'll put some bling on my profile, I'll put all these photos. And then he put a photo of virtually every product he'd ever sold in his sales career. So he looked like a complete try-hard, you know, because there was just too many photos. So you need to be careful about your perception. Some people who blog every day, I mean, why are they on LinkedIn? you know, so you need to be thinking about the perception you create with any activity that you do. You also need to follow up and say thank you. So if you do get those referrals, go back to the person and say, thank you for referring in to me, you know, we didn't do business, but, you know, it was lovely to meet you and thanks again for the opportunity. So definitely do that. And you also need to be very proactive because LinkedIn is constantly changing, the way it works is different, there's different functionality and so on. And also you need to sometimes seek professional advice because, you know, your company's got social media and, you know, it's got to be compliant, you know, they've set up rules and so on. The Gordon TAFE down in Geelong, they've had a problem with people who don't work there anymore saying they still work there. So, you know, they've had to end up working out ways to manage that. So, yeah, that's all related to personal branding. But in terms of business branding, it's really important that you start off with good quality logos because when they get resized and put on other devices, try and make them the proper size that LinkedIn recommends when you load them in. Also, use up the full 2,000 characters for your description because that's obviously more keywords that are going to go into the database. And also, all the specialties that are in your business. So if you've got multiple specialties, list all of them on the company page. I also recommend that you have more than one administrator, unless you're the only person who owns the business, because if somebody's away, then somebody else can respond to something that happens on the company profile. I'd also, did your social media policy that you were talking about before, are you encouraged to like, comment or share anything? Yes, yeah. So that's another really good technique. So if a CEO puts out a fantastic news release, we won the award last night for such and such, all the employees would normally get a message saying, can you all please like, comment and share this post, and it can make the post go viral. So really think about, you know, what other ways you can work with your employees and get them to promote your message throughout their networks. I heard the managing director of Twitter say, if the Telstra CEO on his or her Twitter account says, you know, fantastic things are happening at Telstra, the stock market price goes up. Whereas if it comes from the Telstra.com account, nobody cares because they think that was the PR department. So, you know, your personal influence can actually make a significant difference to the brand of your business. Yeah.
Are you talking about having a separate LinkedIn business?
Yes, a company page.
Company page?
Yeah, so just as on Facebook you're a person and you have a Facebook page, exactly the same thing happens on LinkedIn. You have a profile and then you have a company page.
Do people look at it?
No, they don't. Very rarely look at it unless they're doing due diligence, but by having a company page, it puts the logo on your profile page because, you know, it links to it. But also, if I'm doing my due diligence on your business, I'm going to Google your business name. And it's likely to come up in Google search results. So then I'm going to look at it, and if I see that you've never put anything on there, I'm going to say this person doesn't know digital. And I'm going to make an assessment and possibly not do business with you. So I'm not suggesting you have to be on there every day, but I'd suggest at least 3 updates a year, but preferably 1 a month. Okay? And that's manageable. You can also link to your company profile on your website because that's going to give you some link juice. And again, have a style guide as to how you're going to put updates on your company, you know, what update format you're going to use. Are you going to include a picture? Are you going to include a link? Is it going to link to the blog of the company website? Something like that. So, yeah, I recommend monthly at least, but there was one business that I was consulting to, and they'd had a student come in from university and produce all this content, and I was getting absolutely no engagement because it wasn't meeting the needs of the audience of that business. And so you really need to make sure that the content is aligned with your business. So I'm going to make sure that we have some time for questions, so we're nearly through. Also in terms of business branding, you can follow relevant companies. So if I was a person who really wanted to be, well, I follow LinkedIn, for example, you know, like why wouldn't I if I specialise in LinkedIn? It gives the algorithms an opportunity to say this is something that I'm interested in. If you were looking for a job, you know, and you followed the National Australia Bank, you're actually more likely to come up in their search results and be offered opportunities. So you can be quite strategic about the companies that you follow. You can participate in relevant groups if you want, from a business perspective, but still be as an individual. But I'm finding that groups are not as effective as they used to be. And just last night I got an email from Ruby Connection, which is Westpac's Women in Business type thing, and they said we're closing our group, which had over 2,000 members, and we're going to have a showcase page instead. So, obviously the big companies are realising that groups are just not having the impact that they've had before. Because obviously the content's behind the login and people can't access it. There's a whole bunch of reasons why the groups are not going to be as effective. Also, you need to keep up your level of online activity. So, I log in obviously to LinkedIn most days of the week, but you would want to log in at least once a week to make sure that they know that you're active. You can also use external resources and reviews and perhaps put some of that information across. You definitely need to respond appropriately to anything that happens on your company page, and also be aware of your perception about how you're perceived when people look at that content. And ultimately, choose your actual enterprise strategy. What are you going to do on that company page? So, if you're going to spend time or money on LinkedIn, how can you measure the performance? So, look at the statistics. Have your views, the number of views per 90 days increase. If you write that number down, it's a real-time stat only, so you're going to need to check it again at some later point to see whether it's changed. So obviously with Greg, who wrote his recommendation, he saw that his stats had changed. How many followers do you have? Write that number down. How many connections do you have? How many group members, if you are running a group, are in your group? Also, what sort of interaction are you getting? Do people like, comment or share your content? Are they giving updates and what sort of views have you got on your posts? Also, what sort of referrals are you getting? Are you getting emails via LinkedIn? Are you getting emails via LinkedIn? Are you networking via LinkedIn? Your rank on LinkedIn, so there's a little tool that you can check out your rank, and you can also your social influence. There's a little tool that can tell you how that is performing, and also what endorsements you've got. You can total up the number of endorsements you've got, and you can also total up the number of recommendations. So you want at least 6 recommendations to be, more likely to come up in search results. And again, it's not about traffic, it's about conversions. Are you getting the business or the opportunities that you really want? So, there's a guy I know in Adelaide, and he gets 2,000 views per 90 days, but he's not getting any business. So, it's not just about traffic, it's about making sure you're attracting the right sort of people. And also, in Greg's case, he's going to have to stop attracting some. So, what else is available? Well, LinkedIn Masterclass for Professionals that I'm running on Friday the 7th of October at RMIT. That includes a copy of my 2 books, and we're going for 4 hours. So it's designed specifically for professionals. We will actually be working on your LinkedIn profile and making updates in the session. And then if you book tomorrow, or by tomorrow, you can have 2 hours with me and 4 other people in Canterbury at 10 and 1 on the 6th of September, or 10, 1 or 7 on the 13th of September. You get the 2 books and a 2-hour workshop for $70. So can't get better value than that, because the books retail for $39.99 each. It goes up to $90 after tomorrow. So you're most welcome to register for that. As I said before, lots and lots of free information I've got online at sueellson.com under both publications and presentations. So I've done presentations for universities, secondary schools, here, interstate, corporate organisations, done a lot of private work, but this is mostly the public work that I've done. You can have a look at that online. Now, one of the big things that I say, particularly in my second book, but actually in all of my books, is it is really important to say thank you. There are too many people who do not say thank you anymore, and it's a really good tool for being successful in business. So if you would like to say thank you for today, I would really encourage you to perhaps, if you've got a moment, send an email, particularly to Michael, since they've given us this venue free of charge. You can email me, because I always like feedback. Even if it's bad, I don't mind, because that helps me improve and do something better. And definitely to the Victorian Government for putting on this festival, because it's really given a huge number of people so many amazing opportunities, and we really should thank them for that. There is an evaluation form on some of the chairs, and there should be enough for everyone. So if there's not one on your chair, Unfortunately, I have to ask you to fill that out. That's a requirement of the Small Business Festival. So please find one of those and fill it out and give it to me before you leave. And if you've registered online, I will be sending you an invitation to connect on LinkedIn. I'll also be sending out the top 20 tips from my first 2 books and also the link to this audio, video and photos. Oh, you should have said RMIT training. So, just under Sue Ellson. Yes. Within company pages, you can create another one, which is a showcase on a particular product or service that you offer. So it's another digital page, yeah. I don't see it's going to be significantly worthwhile, but obviously we're in a connection have decided that's what we're going to do. Yeah. Now, I'm more than happy to answer questions, and I'm also more than happy for you to network with each other as well, because I think an important part of getting these events is being able to meet people that you might want to do business with. So any questions that you would like to ask on the beginning? Yeah.
So you've got 9,000 all those.
Yes.
Do you know them all in person?
Of course not. But I would say that I've met a lot of them, and most of them are actually in Melbourne. Yeah. But I do have a lot of international ones as well. Yeah.
If somebody recommends you or endorses you for a skill,
Yes.
but you don't particularly know them or their skills,
Yes.
is there an obligation to turn around and endorse them?
No, under no circumstances, and I don't do it. I don't have time to do it either, so I definitely don't. But periodically, I do go through people I know with their skills, and I endorse them because that earns me brownie points. It feeds the LinkedIn beast, and it says Sue's been a good girl, she's been endorsing people, so it puts my name in front of other people. So that's a sort of good behaviour trick if you want to use that. And that's why I think people use it. More questions? Yeah.
You talked about following relevant companies from the business page. I guess it probably depends on the industry that you're in, but I mean, what sector or employees and clients are an obvious one. Would you recommend following competitors or any other types of organisations as well?
Well, that depends a little bit on your overall purpose, and whether you feel comfortable with them knowing that you're following them, etc. So, it might be politically completely incorrect, to follow them, and that could, look badly if they notice it. Most people don't even notice it though. So, yeah, but in theory, the algorithms are going to say, if you're in this niche and you're following all those companies and they're in the same niche, then you really must be in that niche. So, for instance, I did some work at Holden and I started connecting to other people who were engineers. And then my newsfeed changed. I started getting information on car batteries. So, yeah, definitely. So, is there anybody who hasn't got a form? Because as I said, I have to get you. Thank you. Anybody have a form? Oh, don't worry, I'll put that in. And thank you for coming.
people say, oh, what about it? Go, well, people like it. My friends, the industry people, business references, industry post photos. I'm even freaked out.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. So,
are similar and different kind of specialties. Are you ever open to sharing skills with people who have different skills? I can learn a lot more about those, and I have some ideas that would help your presentation be even more powerful because you deliver the information really, really well. Whether if you could open to some helpful, constructive ideas and feedback.
Thank you. Let me think about it.
Give me my card.
I am flat out with 600 things.
Of course you are.
Well, if
Give
you
a
look
busy
at my
person.
presentations,
Was that?
yeah, if you look at my presentation, you'll see that, you know, there's just one after the other.
Exactly.
And writing 3 books, you know.
It sounds like you're like a machine gun right now.
I know.
Getting that as fast
I
as you
just
can.
keep thinking, please stop. Get off.
I guess that's the one thing that I would say, allowing a pause, because it's so fast paced. I would love to appreciate more, digest things with like different tonalities of fast, slow, medium, because when it's always so fast, it's like, it's hard. Okay, no, you
Well, that's why I video. I must have that.
Yeah. Thanks for hearing.
You're most welcome.